Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our community. So we've all heard the famous Benjamin Franklin quote, if you fail to plan to fail. Well, I don't believe anyone really sets out with a plan to fail, but sometimes having too many priorities or not enough time or a lack of self-discipline results in your failing to plan, which can make all the difference between an awesome victory and a tragic loss. Have you created your personal strategic plan so you can sprint over the finish line, or do you find yourself playing catch up a lot of the time and needing some additional focus? Well, on today's show, we aim to help you become more focused on your goals and dreams so you can achieve your success.
Yes.
How you doing, Kim?
I'm awesome. How are you, Andy?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you here.
It's been a little while since I've been a guest on your show.
Yeah, you're usually back there producing. Behind the camera.
Big producer.
Right? And now you get to step in front of the camera and join me. It's always nice when you do that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the folks out there in the I've Decided world love to see your face and hear your voice.
Well, I hope so.
Since you are the leader of I've Decided.
I try.
How are things going?
Going really well, actually. Yeah. We're
added some new members lately.
We have added some new members. We are in our 10th year. We actually celebrate our 10th anniversary in August.
Okay.
And we just had our 10th annual personal development conference, which you were at. That was a success, I felt like. Everybody that was there, the feedback has just been very positive.
My team that was there really enjoyed it.
Good. And, we got to put ourselves in situations like that and surround ourselves with people that are going to keep us on target, focused, in the right mindset. I mean, it's too easy, to get sidetracked.
So 10 years of the conference.
Yeah.
What's been the most significant learning for you over that 10 years?
Well, funny you should ask, because that's one of the things that was my presentation at the conference. I actually went through my lessons over the 10 years. And so
I missed it. So
you got there late.
I did. So
I was going to
give me the cliff notes.
Yeah. So the short of it all, there were several lessons that I learned, but honestly, the thing that I guess I'm still learning, but I'm putting into practice and really praying and asking and seeking wisdom from the Lord to guide and lead me. But it is not getting ahead of God. I am a visionary. It is who I am. It's who He created. It is a gift, and it is who He created me to be. So I could sit down with you and have you running the world in about like 15 minutes flat, because you just drop one little seed and I'm like, oh my gosh, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could, buy the whole thing down there, whatever.
I've been in those sessions with you. I know.
So I do the same thing with myself.
Right.
So one of the things I chuckle about is our very first 2 conferences were at the Civic Center. So, I hightail it down and rent out the 10,000 square foot ballroom at the Civic Center, thinking I'm just going to fill that puppy up at our first conference.
Right.
And of course that did not,
vision, though.
It did not happen. And so then, of course, by the time I hit 10 years, I thought I would have my purple jet by now. Yeah. And we know that's not happened. Right. And we have about the same amount of people at our conference that we did in the first year. So, that's been my biggest lesson. It's like sometimes we have this grandiose idea and we get ahead, and we really, God has just been really working on my heart. Just remain in Him, stay connected to the vine, listen and pray, and just stay in step. Yeah. That's what I've learned.
Well, and that's great. And we can all benefit from that. And that's interesting that you say that. I've been thinking a lot about that lately too, and talking about that with some close friends of mine, how important that is to follow God's lead and not try to drag God into your own plans. Yeah.
Come on, Lord, let's go put Him on your back and carry Him around.
We all struggle with that for sure. But, it's when you talk about the conference and you think about it from a participatory standpoint, the number of people, that's important. But I think when you really break it down and you think about the quality of the impact for the people that you've had involved in the community, there's some pretty powerful messages and some strong stories that have come up because of that. So really, how do you measure it, right? And is it really important to measure it on the number of people, or is it important to measure it on the quality of the success and the impact that you've had?
It's so funny that you say that, because, prior to that, I was feeling a little down. I was feeling a little down on myself, because it's like 10 years and, this is where we're at, Lord. Like, where's the thousands of people that I had envisioned,
Right.
and over 10 years, I'm sure we've impacted, and I don't even know. But it is what it is, and it's like and one of the members at the conference, she just helped me so much. And I know God spoke through her to me. And she said, you could have 10,000 people here, but I don't know if the impact would be greater.
Right.
She's like, you're out here being able to talk and communicate. It's more personal. And I got chills just saying that. So, I got to get over that. That's me. Yeah. That's my pride. That's Kim wanting the purple jet for Kim.
Right.
And I've talked about this at the conference over the years. The purple jet doesn't represent Kim having a lot of money. The purple jet represents the impact of the people.
The success.
Right? The fruit. The growth of the kingdom. People that have used, I've decided, as a platform to do the work of the Lord, really.
Right.
Their mission, their purpose. So I got to keep my eye on that.
Yeah, you do. And so I'm reminded of the story that we've all heard of the little kid who's throwing the starfish back in the ocean, right? And somebody asked him, and it's lined with starfish all over the place, right? And somebody asked, why are you doing that? You can't save all those. Well, I saved this one.
Right.
Right. And that's really what it boils down to, is you have a quality impact with a number of people, and it's more than a handful, right? It's dozens and maybe hundreds of people that you've touch their lives and have impact. I'm one of those. You're a great influencer for me.
Oh, thanks.
I think you have to shift your mindset a little bit about what.
And I've been doing that. Yeah.
And that's good that you're thinking.
And it's humbling. And I mean, the mindset shift is just get over myself. Let it, I think I posted this on social media this week. I just want more of Jesus and less of me. I just want me to go away. I want to get out of my way. Because
there's a scripture that says that, right?
Yes.
More of him, less of me.
And when you really start to understand that, it's really like, man, Lord, please don't let me do anything dumb.
Well, I think when we boil it down to that equation, and it's interesting because I'm a part of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I'm on the local chapter board, and they actually have a logo, a hat that has the greater than sign and the less than sign together.
Okay.
And that's what it stands for.
Yes.
More of Jesus, less of me.
Yes.
And and when we approach our life that way,
yes,
and the things that we evaluate that way, we become so much more at peace with, I think.
And happy and
it's easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
But it is so important. And just for you to have that mindset and to articulate that, I think is really important and shows that you're growing in that way, right? So good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, that's a whole podcast in itself. So we could stop right there, but that's not even the subject of our conversation today.
Right.
So we're going to get into the discussion of the weekly winning word, which is this week is the word tactical.
Tactical.
Right? Which is an interesting word. And I think an important word for how we go about and approach life in general, but specifically our kind of how we get into working towards our goals and
how we get from point A
we have to be tactical in how we do that.
It's kind of a military word.
It is. You think of it that way.
I think when I was doing the research, I kept seeing Army guys and military stuff, because it's the direction, the steps that you're going to take to get to the right result.
I look at it's intentionality, right? It's really being thoughtful about what it is that you're trying to achieve and how are you going to get to the goal.
Yeah.
So you got to have the goal in mind, but you don't just go after the end goal. You have to hit those with baby steps, right? And you got to be very strategic on how you do that. So the definition for tactical is carefully arranged or planned to help someone achieve what they want in a particular situation. And you mentioned the military mindset, and I think it certainly fits there and probably where we hear it the most. But it also lands in a space that I'm very comfortable with, which is athletics.
Right. And which is what I kind of used as an analogy, because I know that a little more than military. So.
And when to be successful in athletics or sports, and especially when you think at the highest level, you think about how much time and energy they put into each individual game plan.
Right.
And it's an important way to I think, to break it down and apply to your life too.
Absolutely. That's tactical solutions.
So let's dig into it. You wrote an article, as you
Yep.
always do, and you identified kind of 5 tips for people to I guess explore as part of. And the first one, and this gets talked about a lot, is setting clear objectives, right?
Yeah. So like I compared it to a game plan, right? And it basically, I said, it's, we can compare it to a game plan, and just like any game, success requires a well thought out plan, a well thought out strategy.
Yep.
So how do we create that well thought out strategy? How do we come up with those tactical solutions that are going to, those everyday little things? And so, we always talk about set the goals, set this, set that. But I think setting clear objectives is a little different than setting a goal.
Right.
So the goal is to say, okay, this is where the
goal is the purple jet.
Yeah. Or the goal is a touchdown. My husband played D1 football, as you know, and he's coached many, many years. And he was on our group coaching this week and shared this. And I just keep going back to it because it's so good. And it's like, when we're watching a football game, we just want them to score a touchdown. We're just like, when we're fans on the sideline, we're like, touchdown, right?
Yep.
But what he said was, every play is not meant to get a touchdown.
Right.
Like, you're going, if you get a touchdown and you happen to get a touchdown when you were unexpecting it,
that's even better.
It's icing on the cake, maybe. But there are plays out there. There are steps that they take to get 3 yards sometimes, just to get to the next best place.
Right.
Because the goal is to get to the touchdown within the 4 plays. So not every play. And it really, actually, I had a revelation, and it's like, that's what a clear objective is. It's saying that every step I take towards that purple jet or towards that, touchdown or whatever isn't going to be the winning.
Right.
That's not, I might
not every objective or every strategy is the end to the process.
It's a step.
They're built on each other. I think of it, when I was thinking about it, I think of, from my world, in the YMCA. So we are a not-for-profit organization, right? We have a board of directors, a lot of staff, and my role as the CEO is to kind of cast vision and set objectives for the organization. But the board's role is to create a strategic plan, right? They identify kind of those overarching goals for
the parameters.
Yes, these are the things that we're setting out to achieve. And then it's my job, with working with my staff team, to develop those objectives. How are we going to get from here to there, and over what time frame?
So you're coaching them, essentially.
We're always working towards that. And, the way we do that is we identify what we call SMART goals, measurable objectives, right? We all have them in our work plans. So these are the things that you're focused on, and it creates kind of clear direction from top to bottom within the organization. And when people understand what it is you're trying to do, they tend to get behind it a little bit better. And when they have a voice in developing that,
and they see how it's going to impact them in a positive way.
Yeah. And I think we need to do that for our personal selves too. Is what's the plan? I mean, are we just getting up every day and kind of winging it, or
floating down the river? I say, are you just on a raft floating down the river?
That's fun to do every now and then, right?
Yeah,
to take
but
a break.
If you just do that for your whole life, you are not gonna. I had the privilege yesterday of speaking to a group of high schoolers that are graduating in May. That's the plan, and they're in alternative high school, and there's about 10 of them. And these are students that. They're struggling.
Yeah,
right?
Non-traditional.
It's non-traditional. They're struggling. And a lot of time, at this point, they got to take some responsibility, but they didn't ask to be born in situations that they were born with, and not having the right support and accountability and all the pieces of the puzzle, for success that we talk about. But essentially, that's what I told him. I said, you got a choice. You can decide right now if you're just going to hang on your raft and you're just going to let it take you where you will. But I can tell you're going to get 10 years down the road and you aren't going to like where you're at. Right. Or you can take control and you can say, this is what I'm going to do. And you can plan and be where you want to be in 10 years. Yeah. And, I pray some of them listen. They seem like they did, but it's the same for all of us. some of us can hear it more than others.
Right.
They don't hear that enough.
Mm-hmm.
They live in a situation where they just see people flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
It's what they know. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. And most successful people, I'd probably say all successful people don't live that way. Right, unless you win the lottery.
Oh,
right.
And even those people blow the money. If you see the statistics, people that live that way, even when they win $10 million, end up broke in 10 years.
And if you're measuring the money as a success, you got a whole nother problem.
Yeah, you got a whole nother problem. Right.
But,
we definitely need money to survive, but that's
so I had to break this down a little bit for somebody within our organization just the other day, because it's something that's clear to me and I understand it, but that's because I have 27 years of experience and it's been taught to me and I've learned
and you
the value
sports
of this.
And you coach sports, and so you understand.
Yeah. So what I as I broke it down, it's really about. So you have the goal, and most of us have a goal, but we wrestle with the tactical piece of it, and it's really it's thinking about the how. What is it you're going to do to accomplish what it is that you want, and it's the how are you going to do it. That's where you get into the measurable piece, right? You start to define specific duties or specific objectives. We keep using that term. Tasks that you're going to accomplish that are going to move you forward.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the how of how you're going to approach it. And I think that helped that individual. And for anybody out there who's wrestling with that, hopefully it helps them. But it's not the what, right? It's not the why, because we need those things too, but it's the how.
Yep. And if you don't know, just take the next best step.
Right.
Like if you're going, I know where I want to be, but I don't know where to start.
Right.
Start
somewhere.
What is the next best step you can take? It might, what's the next best step? It's just like I was telling one of the kids there yesterday. They're like, I have no idea what I want. I don't even know. Right. So I'm not doing anything basically, because I don't even know until I figure that out. Right. I said, doing nothing is not an option.
Right.
You have to take the next right step. What's the next right step? Okay. Maybe the next right step is signing up at ICC and just taking basic classes. Basic classes. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Go do that. He's like, I don't know. But, that's the next best thing. You don't know what to do that. So if you don't know what to do, you can figure out one right thing and move in that direction.
I think that's important. Create some momentum.
Create a little momentum. So set those clear objectives. I don't want you to hear it like, oh gosh, set goals. Yeah, set goals. I know I need to set goals. I have goals. Okay. The clear objectives are the steps that are going to get you to the goal.
Those are not the goals.
Right. Yeah.
That's the work.
Yeah.
And you have to prioritize and focus on the work. And it has to be aligned. So it makes a lot of sense. And you have to spend time doing that, I think, in order for you to achieve what it is you're setting out to do. No doubt about it. All right. So the next part of it is analyzing your strengths and weaknesses, which is important, right? And a lot of times we don't like to think about our weaknesses, right? That's not human nature. We like to think about the good things. But we got to know where we're good at, what we're not so good at, and then where do we find support in those areas? Or how I like to think about, how do your strengths help somebody else too, right? So you can share in that.
How can you contribute, and how can they help you?
Absolutely.
It's just like the team. You're analyzing as a coach, and you can probably speak to this as a coach. You understand who your players are.
Right.
You know what their strengths and weaknesses are. You're not going to have them do something that that they're not. Right. You're not going to set up a play that's going to set someone up for failure.
You hope not to.
You're not. That's not the goal.
Right. No, if you think it just from the realm of sports, if you're a basketball coach, you know who can handle the ball, who can dribble it well, and pass it well, and who can shoot it well. Sometimes it's the same person, but not always.
Right.
And you have to utilize the strengths of those teammates in order to get the ball in the basket.
That's right.
Or to get the ball across the goal line, or whatever it is you're trying to do. A quarterback or a running back, a wide receiver in a football game are no good if they don't have people up front blocking.
Right. That's right.
Right? They're not going to have
any success. You can be the best quarterback on the planet, but if you ain't got anybody to play with, nobody's ever going to know.
You're going to be lost.
Yeah, you can be the best basketball player. You can be the best of anything, but if you don't understand, and that's why, like we were talking about this on our group coaching, the coach. The coach sets the plays, the coach
Mhm.
sets the plan. And you've got all these team members that are really great at what they do. But if they didn't have the coach saying, you need to do this, throw the ball here, run here, move here,
Right.
they would just be out there running amok, and they're good players.
Right.
They're experts. They're great at what they do.
Yeah.
And so it's just the same.
Yeah.
It's like you can.
Well, and I think as you understand what you're good at, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, then you can start to even better inform what we talked about before is those objectives, right? And you
Mhm.
can start to build some objectives around how am I going to get better in this area?
Mhm.
Or where am I going to find support in this area? Or how can I capitalize on this strength
Yes.
that I have?
Mhm.
And you can do that. And you have to, so go do it. Your article talked about a SWOT analysis,
Yes.
which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities,
Yep.
and threats.
Yep.
Right. And we all probably understand what that is, but there's a process that you have to go through to understand that. So can you talk a little bit about the process of identifying strengths or weaknesses?
Sure. So, I mean, obviously it takes, going, if you're talking about like myself, if I'm trying to identify my own strengths and weaknesses, clearly the things that we're passionate about, the things that we're good at, the things that people say, oh my goodness, you're so good at that, you should do this, or people are asking you to help out in those areas, especially if you're at work or, on a team or whatever. You can be certain that those are your strengths. And the goal is to build on those strengths. The goal is not to go, okay, I'm good at that, but I'm bad at this. Right. And now I got to really focus on what I'm not good at so that it can be no. That's not what you want to do. You're wasting time. You can always improve in areas of your life. But if there are things that I'm not really good at, I'm not going to spend a ton of time trying to become an expert at it. It's not a strength. It's not, something that I'm really, really good at. So, that's the first process, is saying, admitting, here are the things that I'm really good at, and here are the things that I'm not good at. And then where's my opportunity? Where is the opportunity? There is always it does not matter what situation you're in. My life experience, I can only speak for myself, but I bet this is true for you and everyone. I can't think of a time where I couldn't find an opportunity. There was something, whether I took it or not, that's a different story.
Absolutely.
That's a totally different story. But I can think and I could go, I had an opportunity. I could have done that, but I chose not to. So the key is to find that opportunity and seize it.
Well, and one way to do that, I think, which is effective for me, and not everybody necessarily likes this, but we always face challenges in our lives, right? And there's an opportunity that lies within every challenge.
That's right.
And that's a matter of perspective, I think. And we kind of live this culture within the YMCA because it's something that I'm so passionate about. Anytime there's a difficult situation or a challenge that comes up for us, that's how we approach it is, what's the opportunity here?
What can we find?
How do we get better through this situation?
Yeah.
And even in my personal life, when something difficult comes up, that's how I try to approach it, because it gives me a little bit more, I guess, encouragement or motivation to get through it, because I know I'm going to grow through that process.
Absolutely.
And so if you struggle with that part of it, just look at the challenges in your lives and then flip those on their
how
head,
you're looking at it.
And look at them as an opportunity, and then start to attack them that way. And you're going to get better for it. There's no doubt about it when you have that mindset change. And I think it's critical. You have to understand, like you said, what you're good at is where you need to focus. Where you're not so good at is where you start to pull in support.
And don't spend too much time trying. I think a lot of times people really try to invest their money, invest their time in trying to get better at something they're never going to be an expert at. It's not their gift. And you just have to say, it's just not my thing. And it's okay. I can certainly try to do better. The other thing real quick are the threats. I think it's so important. We find the opportunity, but there are always going to be threats that are going to threaten your success. And you have to be ready for those. You have to be prepared and think through what's the worst thing that can happen. If this fails, if, what could come in and just disrupt this whole situation. And how are we going to handle that?
You got to have a game plan for it.
You got to have a little strategy there to say, okay, if all of a sudden the roof caves in, what are we going to do about that?
Right.
So you got to kind of have a little action plan for some of the threats that could happen too.
Yeah,
So
in my world, there's two things that keep me up at night that are threats for me, and it's a drowning, and it's some type of a like a molestation situation, because we have child care programs and things like that.
Yes,
and we
you've
hear
got
about those
men,
things all the
women,
time.
all kinds of different. Yes,
and those are the things that can really impact our organization, right? Because those are negative experiences that impact a lot of people and create a lot of negativity around. And we have to do everything that we can to prepare ourselves to avoid those situations.
And that's what I was going to say. When it comes to the threats, the other thing is not to just be aware that, something like that could happen, but what are you putting in place to make sure it doesn't? So if a threat is that I've got an old roof or something that's going to cause the roof to cave in, and I'm just using it as an analogy, of course, then what can I do if that roof caves in? What can I do or maybe I can't afford to replace the entire roof, but what can I do to hopefully keep it from caving all the way in and hurting someone?
One is prepare on the front end with insurance, right?
I don't know, but I'm just saying there has to be something, right? Yeah. Or maybe put a beam up that's going to hold it or support it. I don't know, but there's something you can do. And in your situation, you got lifeguards, you got training.
We train our staff to be prepared for these things and know how to look for these things, right? And how to communicate when they see challenges.
If they see an issue, talk about it right away.
Yeah. And it's all about preparation.
Yep.
And training and all of those things. And those things can be applied in a lot of different circumstances, not just the one that I shared. But
that's right.
You're right, though. We have to know what those threats are, and we have to create a plan to how we're going to address them if and when they do kind of rear their ugly head. And from time to time, they're going to, right? There's going to be challenges.
I wish there wasn't, but
there is. There just is. And if we go through life thinking that, no, that's never going to happen to me.
Right. Then we're just...
you're going to have egg on your face.
You're going to live highly disappointed is what it's going to amount to.
All right. So the next point in your article was about readjusting to changing conditions.
Yes.
The bottom line is no matter what you set out to do, whatever your goal is, whatever objectives you created, you've done your SWOT analysis, something's going to change.
Well, COVID.
Yes.
I mean,
that's a great example.
We have all lived through something that's just going to knock us down, and there's just nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
That's a best example I can give you. Nobody really expected that, and nobody was really prepared for that, and nobody really even understood it in the beginning.
Yep.
And so, as much as I hate to keep bringing that subject up, because I really hate that subject, it's just the truth. It's something that we can all understand when we talk about readjusting to changing conditions.
It is, and I think the lesson to be learned in that is that your plans can change. It's okay for your goals to be adjusted or your objectives to change in midstream even. So we do that in our world all the time. About a year and a half ago, I guess it was a year ago, we set out and we created a long list of objectives that aligned with our strategic plan in the organization. It was all staff developed and things that I'm going to do, and I have this responsibility. These are things that I'm going to do to address this overarching goal. All of the staff did that. We all worked on this together, so everybody had a voice in it. And as we went throughout the year, we learned that, this one wasn't such a good idea, right? We're not really good in this space. This doesn't make any sense now. Something changed within the organization.
Right.
So guess what? We took it off the list. Yeah. And we removed it and replaced it with something else that did make sense. So it's always changing for us. And I think that that's really important to understand that that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not successful. It means that you probably have more information than you had at the time that you established that goal or that objective. And now with that new information, you're going to make an adjustment to your strategy.
Or maybe this is just the direction you needed to go and you weren't sure about. You didn't understand it.
Right.
I mean, sometimes, we just are going to go down the wrong path. We think we might be doing the right thing and we believe we're doing the right thing. But, if we could see and hear God, he'd be going, no, don't go down that path. Right. That's not what I'm trying to tell you. You're not listening, because of whatever's drowning out our listening ears. And we might just go down the wrong path. And sometimes that change just comes to say, we got to redirect. Right. Everybody's going the wrong way and we got to come back and redirect. And I think sometimes, those changing conditions are life lessons and learning, and it's God saying, nope, this way.
Right.
You were going this way, but now
But
I
I
need you.
think too many times, and I'm guilty of this too, we don't like to change because we're comfortable. And I think this is just a human condition that most people suffer with, right? We love to be comfortable.
Well, it's your brain.
Yeah. And so that creates some fear because of, well, if I'm going to do something different, I'm not sure how that's going to go. It's kind of the fear of the unknown, and we have to get past that.
It's just
change is good.
Yes, change is great. And it's just like the one kid yesterday. I just wanted to just take him home so much because I just like, I could really give you some good stuff, and he's just like, I don't want to do anything I don't like doing, I already decided if I don't like it, I'm not going to do that. You shouldn't have to do anything, you don't love.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa. Every day we have to do things we don't love to get what we want. Okay. Right. And I use that analogy of exercising because people think that I just love to exercise because I work out at curves and I own curves and I run, and they just like, oh, you love to exercise. And I look at them like they're crazy. I'm like, no, I hate it.
Right.
I hate to exercise. And that's what I told the students. I said, I hate to exercise. And they're like laughing at me. They're like, you own a gym,
right.
And I'm like, so
right.
I hate to exercise. And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah, I really
love the benefits of it.
That's what I said. I said, you know what I love? And they're like, what? I said, I love being healthy.
Yeah.
And I can't be healthy if I don't exercise. Right. I hate exercising, but exercising produces what I love.
That's good.
And so my brain says, no, you don't like to exercise. You don't need to do that. Mm-hmm. You need to be comfortable. Right. That hurts your arms. That makes you breathe hard. Right. Don't do that.
Makes you sweat and stink.
So your brain is actually working against you.
Sure it is.
But a lot of you understand that, and I understand that, but a lot of people do not understand that. Mm-hmm. We actually think that our brain is leading us down the right path. Yeah. I mean, people really are bought into that lie.
Our brain is filled with poison.
And your brain lies to you. I don't know if you didn't know that or not, but and you can think about a person who might be addicted to drugs. Okay. Yeah. And this is the best example I can give you is that if you don't want to, if you're not going, no, my brain wouldn't do that. Okay. Listen, if you're addicted to a drug and when you're trying, nobody who's addicted to drug wants to be. Okay. Right. No, there isn't. Okay. We won't argue that. It's just a fact. No one who is doing something that's bad for themselves really wants to do that. We all want to be better. We all want to do the right thing. That's our innate godlike soul. Sure. Okay. And so we know that they don't want to do it, but they do it. Yeah. Okay. And they try to stop. We know these people. We know people in our lives. They do it. They try to stop and they try to stop and they try to stop and they try and they try and they try and they fail and they keep going back. And really, and their brain is a big part of that because when they do well for a while and then all of a sudden maybe they hit a stressful time or something happens and causes them anxiety and then what does their brain do? Mm-hmm. Their brain says, oh, I know what you need.
I got a solution.
I have a solution. You know what you need? Yeah. You need those gummies. Yeah. That's going to help you sleep. Mm-hmm. That's what you need. We need sleep. We haven't had sleep in a few days. You need sleep. If you don't sleep, you're going to die. My job is to make sure you don't die. Right. And I know that if you have those gummies and you sleep, you won't die. Right. So you need that. And then it just really starts driving and almost to a point that people can overcome it. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that's your brain killing you. Right. It thinks it's helping you, but ultimately it's killing you. And so we have to take control of that. And Andy, that's what God tells us when he says, you have to capture your thought and align it to the truth. Mm. So then you have to tell your brain, no, that's dumb. That's stupid. That's a lie. Right. This is what has to happen. Anyway,
and I think that's
I'm like, I'll be here all day talking about that, but
we're running out of time.
I know I am running out of time.
But it is good though. And what you're saying is truthful. I completely agree with you, but let's move on for the sake of time. Collaborating with others is another, I guess, recommendation, right, that you made in your article, which I think is extremely important. Mm-hmm. I love to collaborate with others, and I strive to do this almost every day, especially in my YMCA work, is how can we work with somebody else that's going to help move this initiative forward or help make our community better in that way. And it's extremely important, but it's difficult. It's really difficult because if you really want to be successful and collaborate, you got to put your ego aside. And ego is something we all have, we all struggle with because we all want to feel good about what it is that we're doing. We love it when people say, hey, that's a great job. I really love what you're doing. But it can't be about that.
Right.
It can't be about that. And that's, I think, where most people get lost in collaboration because we're competitive by nature and we like to win. And when we like to win and that's our focus, that's egotistical.
Yep.
And it gets in the way of us really leaning into collaboration, which can really help strengthen us.
Yeah.
If we approach it that way.
That's a very good point. I hadn't even thought about that, that ego getting in the way of collaborating with others. But we see it when it comes back to the analogy that I used of creating your game plan and comparing success to a team winning and their strategy, their
Right.
tactical solutions, to get them to that victory. You can see the ego on the ball field. Like you can see a player lose the game for the team because they wanted the ball or they got mad that they didn't get the ball. And, and they think they could have done better. We think we know better. We think we're more powerful and our ego. Yeah, that's a very good point.
I think the best thing that's happened in my life, 53 years old, when it comes in the spirit of collaboration, I've learned just over the last 3 years, and it has to do with the partnership and the collaboration that we created with the Park District here in town, and what that's done for our organization, because we both set aside our egos and said, let's join forces, let's capture the market and the fitness market better together, right? We know that you have assets that we don't have. We have assets that you don't have. So let's combine those in a sense and then market those to the community and provide people more access that way. And when we were able to do that, and I had no idea what it was going to do for us, but it's really transformed our organization. And it's really made this really stick in my mind, the importance of collaboration. But the challenge is, and I wrestle with it too, is ego. It gets in the way. And we got to be able to set that aside because we're better when we're working with others. Most
you
people
learn
are.
And you're encouraged and you're motivated and the ideas.
Absolutely. And when you have collaboration, you know what it is that you're trying to achieve, and you know there's others out there that maybe have similar interests or similar skill sets or have strengths in areas where you don't. When you can build those alliances and lean into each other, you're both going to be better for it. And it's such a rich environment to be in. And now when I look at life, because of that experience, especially in my why world experience, I'm always looking for where's the next opportunity, because I want our YMCA to be successful. I want our YMCA to be around for another 200 years serving this community. And I know and I believe that it's going to be able to do that if we have the right connections and collaborations in this community. It's just going to build up.
Right. So your long-term goal is genuinely, it's not about you. It's about the people that you're serving.
Right.
And that's where the difference maker. It's removing ourselves out of that. It's saying we don't want the Y to be successful so that because of Andy, we want the Y to be successful for the community. Now, granted, the Y success is your success and it's connected. But it's not the Y.
Right.
It's the benefit. It's the benefit, but not the Y.
But if I approach it,
the Y is in WHY, not the
But when, and I struggle with this daily, when I approach it from the perspective of it's not about me, it's better. But I do wrestle with that.
No,
right?
I do
because
too. Yeah.
You want everybody wants the glory.
Hey, you're preaching to the girl that loves to be the center of attention. I struggle with that every day.
And we can have success, but we can't have as good a success. No. I don't believe. I think we get
it's not as rewarding.
We get in our own way.
It's not as rewarding, and you're not, and again, we're not, you won't produce as much fruit.
Nope.
It's kind of like the talents, right? The pride, the 1 talent, the 5 talents, 10 talents. You bury the talent. So it's just, it doesn't produce fruit. And so we want to produce fruit.
Right.
And
we're told to be humble, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to humble ourselves and put down our own desires. I mean, it's biblical, and I know you and I align that way.
That's right.
That we're told to do that, so we really have to strive, I think.
And if we're told to do it, guess what that means? We can do it.
We can, right?
We in Christ, we got to stay connected to the vine. We can't do anything without Him, but with Him, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it, Andy.
I know we can. We are doing it.
We are doing it.
All right. The last step, or the last point you made, and I think is execution, right?
Yes.
And you have to be consistent in your in your execution. I wrote this down as I was reading your articles. So we've done all the work, right? We've done the SWOT analysis. We've created the objectives that are going to approach us towards the goal. We know we're going to change. We're working on the collaboration piece, and then we have to review, assess, adjust, and then repeat it all again. And when that has to be a constant approach to how we go about this. We have to look at how are we doing, right? And where are there gaps, and where are there challenges, and then make some adjustment based on the information that you're learning, and those things, and then just continue to do that. And that's so important.
Over and over. Executing with consistency over and over and over. And you're falling, you're getting back up. You're falling, you're getting back up. You know, it's so funny. It's like, you know, when we think, I mean, executing with consistency, we can think about learning to walk. You know, we don't stop walking because we fall. We don't, right? I mean, even, you know, obviously you think about a toddler, they're fall, right? We don't say, oh, no, you can't do it.
Right.
You
We'd all be laying on the ground if that was the case.
And even as we age, we fall. I've fallen running. I don't know. I'm like the fall girl, 20 times at least, I feel, you know. I figured it out, though. It's every time I'm not looking at the ground. If I'm looking away or looking at my watch, I fall so anyway, I'm doing better now that I'm keeping my eyes
on the road.
Yes. And so, but you know, it's you get up and you keep going. And so when you fall, you get up and you keep walking. You don't go, oh, I've fallen. I don't know how to walk. I can't do that anymore. It's the best analogy I can give you, because we all have to, you know,
pretty simple, but
it's a simple, but very, if you can apply that everywhere, it's like, that's the kind of consistency. That's how you need to execute the things in your life. You need to say, okay, I messed up. I fell off the wagon. I did whatever, you know, I blew it.
That's another
made a
important
mistake.
part. You got to admit it.
Yeah.
You have to admit it, right? And not everybody can admit failure or
drives me nuts.
Or take the accountability for the failure and understand that, okay, I screwed that up. I got to get better at that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that. And when you can't do that, you're going to struggle.
You're going to struggle. It's going to be hard. And it's going to also be hard to collaborate.
The people aren't going to want to work with you.
Yeah. You're going to have a hard time being on a team.
That's right.
Because people are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're driving me crazy. You know, you made a mistake. Just, you know, own it. Let's move on.
It's the humility piece again. And you got to own your mistakes. Most people.
I think I make a lot of mistakes, so I'm pretty good at owning. I feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, I really messed that up.
When somebody comes to me in our organization and that's the approach, I'm so much more likely to help them and work with them. And I desire to help them and work with them because I can see the humility in them.
It's like
it draws people to you.
I think if you're
whereas the opposite, people run from you.
Well, I think there's those personalities, right? There's the personality that they are just so adamant about not making a mistake, and they are meticulous, and they just do everything in their power to say, how can I not make a mistake?
Right.
And they think things through before they take off, all of that. Well, I am the opposite. Like I take off and then go, where am I going?
Right. But if you're so focused, I would argue though, if you're so focused on never making a mistake, you're limiting your growth. Yeah,
it's true. There's pros and cons to both personalities.
Because you're avoiding so many other, you're spending so much time trying to avoid what's coming at you. You're reactionary versus being proactive. Yeah. And I think that can be debilitating in a way too.
It is. But and then when you make a mistake, they take it so personally and so to heart. It's like they tried so hard not to make a mistake. And then they did, and now they want to say, well, I didn't do it. Somebody else, it was because you did it. Andy, if you hadn't have done that, then my plan would have worked. right? Because they almost cannot
Blame.
even bear
Yeah.
to admit that they made a mistake because they have such a deep desire to be so perfect.
Yeah.
And there's some, and that I'm not, if you're like that, I'm not knocking that, because you want those types of people on your team, because they're the ones
it's
that
okay
really
to
think
want to be perfect.
Yes, yeah.
But
So
you got to
it's
understand that none of us are.
right. So it's just, that's just the con maybe to that personality, and the personality where we kind of take off and go before we really think things through. Well, we're saying we're sorry a lot. We're eating crow a lot because we're like, oh gosh, I didn't think that through, or I did, I made a mistake because I thought I was ready and I wasn't.
And you can go too far with it.
And you can
mistakes over and over and over.
You can do.
You have to learn.
So you can either way there. So the most important thing I think is we got to just have the plan, have the steps, know what you're going to do to get where you want to be. Don't just fly free willy nilly, they say, right?
Don't wing it.
Don't wing it. No free willy nilly.
No.
Like, go. Just make sure you know where you're going, but don't just float down the river.
Well, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Good conversation.
I
think it's been good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's been good for you out there, and we hope you'll join us next time here on our community.
Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome.